Hi, everybody. Okay. Oh. Had some problems last night. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Last night. Here we go. So, hi, everybody. We are in Epiphany, right? We're in Epiphany. Christmas is all about this baby being born, right? Christ being born. And Epiphany is all about who is Jesus, who is Christ. And God uses an amazing language. He uses the language of the heavens. The heavens declare the glory of God. He uses it with something so miraculous that it speaks to everybody. And it's called the Star of Bethlehem. It's called the Star of Bethlehem. If you are an astronomer or you enjoy the clock in the sky, you know that everything repeats all the time. It repeats all the time. The moon repeats every 29.5 days with its phasing. You know that it's going to do it again. It's going to wax and wane, wax and wane, wax and wane. And for 19 years, it does that, traveling, making a analemma. And when it reaches 19 years, it starts the same circuit over again. So every 19 years, you can see the same moon in the same phase, the same size, the same elevation, all over again. Every 19 years. Every 19 years. It's called the Metonic cycle. And it's just amazing. And, when you look at this, the sun is the same way. It creates an analemma every year. The moon creates an analemma every month. Um, and it will repeat. It will repeat again. It is so dependable. It's so dependable. And then you have the transits of Venus and Mercury that cross the sun. Um, and they have a pattern. They have a pattern that is absolutely pinpoint to the second. When astronomers know when Venus and Mercury will transit the sun, and you can see it with your naked eye. You can see it with your naked eye. Um, and and then the eclipses, there's 70 eclipses and they repeat. They're in the 70 eclipses make up 18 teams. And those eclipses never leave their team, right? Never leave. Um, they never get traded. They never get traded to another team. They are always in the same team. And those 18 teams make up 18 years and 10 and 11 days. And every 18 years, 10, 11 days, those eclipses repeat. They repeat. And it gets really interesting after that. But so, the astronomers know exactly when a certain eclipse, being it a solar, partial solar, full solar, partial, the lunar, the full lunar, when those will, what type it is, because they never leave their team. It's always the same. Year one is always the same as 18 years later, year one. Year two is always the same set of eclipses than year two, 18 years later. And 18 years, 10, 11 days, right? Because there's 10, 11 days between the lunar year and the solar year. And so they're always dependable. That's what what I want to say. They're always dependable. They are timestamps in the sky. They're God's clock, God's clock, different arms, right? Because they each keep a different time. They're different cogs in it. And it's just so incredible because the heavens declare the glory of God. But something miraculous happened that's never happened before, right? And it spoke to the world. And it was the Star of Bethlehem. It's never been repeated before. Where did this star come from? Where did it go? But we know it's timestamp. And justice is not justice without timestamps. You know, where were you on August 3rd, 2019 at 10 o'clock in the morning? Where were you on that day? There's no justice without timestamps. And the Star of Bethlehem makes a huge timestamp. Um, the only timestamp. You can't confuse it with anything else. And it's just remarkable. It's just wonderful. It's just glorious. It makes you speechless because it marked the King of Kings, the God coming into the world. That's what it marked. And that's why it's so spectacular. And when you have a God that is that spectacular, such a creator, such a justice, right? Justice. Then you know that when you have him on your side, you know justice is coming. And breaking news, right? And let's get started. 1,980. What is it? Let me make sure I get it right. 87 days. 1,987 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. That was witnessed, y'all. That was witnessed. There were witnesses to that. And he was removed in uniform. Okay. He was removed in uniform. And he was taken down to the basement room of the same building, 24, 70, what, 78, 79. Gosh, it's midnight. And it just, when I tell this story, it never gets easy. Okay, it's never easy because I know what they did to him. And they took his life and they stole his body. And this group that did this had connections. And at the beginning of all of this, a lot of people, when we would say, it was law enforcement, it was a breach in security, it was many different people involved in this. And they would be like, no way, no way. They couldn't believe that it would be that organized. And 5.5 years, but we knew because we know our son. We knew because we saw them shaking. We saw them wetting their pants. We saw them literally, just in insanity. When people have that kind of reaction to, parents just coming into a room, then something really evil and wicked has happened. You know it. Because when you participate in the death of a whistleblower soldier or death of anybody, there's reactions to it. You throw up, you have the shakes, you sweat. That's normal knowledge. That is common knowledge. And to see Patrick Crucius, who's supposed to be the Walmart shooter, right? Who's in prison for being the Walmart shooter. And he is one of the Walmart shooters. He is, because he admits to it. He admits to killing one or two. Um, but something's fishy there, right? Because where was he sweating? Where was he nervous? Where was he throwing up? When you hear Patrick Crucius talk, when you see the interviews, the interrogation of him, I mean, they used kid gloves for the interrogation of him, right? And they led him with everything. You could tell that they knew he had autism, that he had severe mental health conditions since he was a child, a small child, because that's how they were interviewing him. That's how they were treating him. And we know that he surrendered twice. And the first time they're like, go away, Patrick. Patsy, go away, Patsy. Come back in a few minutes. You get the timing. The timing's wrong. I don't know if they did that. I don't know. I'm just, I'm just like, after being with, in this for so long, it just seems like, you gotta, you know, uh, tell the story, right? Tell the story. But I don't know if that's what, well, I know that they told him to go away. And then he got in his car, and then minutes later, he drives, to the intersection, the famous intersection, and he surrenders to Hispanics, right? Really like, here I am, I'm the shooter. Here I am, I'm the shooter. After they told him to go away. Um, it just, and no throw up, clean shoes, clean pants, clean shirt. And, there's nothing there, right? And so something's very fishy. Something smells really bad. And, we have questions then. And if we have questions, Richard had questions. And also because of what he knew in his unit, because his unit was connected to the Walmart mass shooting case. Members in his unit were connected to the Walmart mass shooting case. To the Walmart mass shooting case, yeah. Wow. So that's he did a lot of whistleblowing, but that was the main one. And I think he's a hero of El Paso for that, because like Glennon Oakley Jr., and other whistleblowers, they were protecting El Paso, weren't they? They wanted justice in El Paso. And there's still all of these questions, because the whole case led to fraud, didn't it? Fraud over fraud over fraud, years and years of it. Years and years of what it should have been a very easy case, an easy death penalty case. And you see the pattern then with Tyler Robinson. Goes and gets an ice cream, goes then and gets a steak, drives 3 hours, right? Goes and gets a steak, uses his credit card. Oh, can't forget the potatoes and the vegetables, uses his credit card. He's just not really throwing up, not really shaking, not really wetting himself, not really the things that we experienced about the while facing those that contributed to the foul play and cover up in our son's case. Gosh, yeah. We even released a video of one, and I wish I would have even taken more videos of, I mean, they were so nervous about it that that they sent El Mayo, the billionaire, right? El Mayo's attorney to be counterintelligence. And then they sent an asymmetric warfare officer to be our casualty affairs officer. When they were saying that Richard, was a just one missing soldier, they sent a casualty affairs officer. Um, because they absolutely knew, and they had the positive hits with the cadaver dogs. And we were misled with that for the longest. Remember who was misleading us on that one? Um, so what is the common denominator here? What is going on here? Why is Fort Huachuca connected to El Paso and Fort Bliss? Um, and nobody wants to talk about it. No one wants to really, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but not very many people. Not very many people want to talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room uh, is this Mormon faction connection with the colonies in Chihuahua. The Whetten, Colin Whetten, who leaked our son's identity to the cartel, putting a target on his back. And he's the FBI special agent in charge, or assistant special agent in charge. But, I don't think I misspoke. He's been there for so many decades. He has seen many special agent in charge come and go, come and go. And here he is with that assistant special agent in charge role. Um, I think he was always a special agent in charge. I think he has been. Why? Because he has this Mormon faction connection to the Chihuahuan colonies. Powerful, powerful Mormon colonies. So powerful that, um, you know, it's already labeled, you can find it everywhere. But you have the Romneys. I mean, Mitt Romney was very close to being president of the United States. His family is absolutely this Chihuahuan um, Mormon colony connected to the Whettens, connected to the Farnsworths. And, this is a connection with Fort Huachuca, with Fort Bliss, with other military bases, and I believe a lot of fraud, and a lot of criminal activity with the Mexican organized cartel. And I want to use some fancy words for the Mexican cartel because the pictures we get in the media, I think, are very misleading. You don't see men in suits as the Mexican cartel. You don't see Cesar Duarte's kind of look. You don't see Colin Whetten, right? Colin Whetten is absolutely um, Mexican organized crime. Oh, but he's an American. No, he's from the colonies of Chihuahua. He's probably dual citizen. Um, it would, uh, yeah. But the Farnsworths names are coming up everywhere. Are coming up. It Sure, very early on it came up in our son's case. Very connected. And the Farnsworth, Romneys, Hatches, Calls, um, Whettens, the Skousen. I hope I say that name right. There, I'm just doing it all by memory. These names that are, historically written down in documents, part of the polygamists that left the United States and settled in the colonies. There's, I don't know, a half a dozen of them, maybe a little more than a half a dozen, in Chihuahua, Mexico. And from our investigation, this is the common denominator, this connection. And they're not like, you know, thuggy looking what they present to you in the media or present to us in the media. These are men in suits. These are men and women in positions. And I knew something was really fishy with Danae Katzen because Danae Katzen had position and she um, was well spoken, right? So, and her Facebook that we, of course, went over thoroughly. She's like a fix it lady, right? She's a show me who did this to you, and I'm gonna go over there and I'll fix this problem. She's like a fix it. Um, and she was somebody, right? And the same thing with her husband, Jonathan Caleb Ambrose, a West Pointer and cybersecurity expert. Cybersecurity expert. Um, remember that. Remember that. And when they arrested them, the media presented the word, okay, yes, okay, they were both overweight, whatever, but they presented the worst pictures of them, right? And they only gave part of the story. They absolutely committed a false witness. And they did not mention that she was involved in the Richard Halliday case and that so was he. They didn't mention that. They didn't mention that. It was just, oh, these are just scammers, little scammers, a little money here, a little money there, and look how bad they look. And that's it. And people are like, oh, gag me, let me throw up. And I don't want to even know about them. I don't want to even hear about them. I don't even want to look at them. Um, and that's what the intention of the articles were, right? It was a real false witness. And now she is, a fugitive and on the most wanted list. And KTSM, who she's totally connected to KTSM, okay? She is so connected to media. And they're the ones like, we don't know anything about her. Look, we're reporting on her. We're reporting that she's one of the 10 most wanted. It's just such a, false witness scam that we have witnessed and that people that have followed this case have seen clearly. And that same playbook is clearly being used in the Charlie Kirk case. The same playbook, y'all. And uh, is there a Mormon faction common denominator? Yes. In our son's case, and I don't know what they did with Charlie Kirk's body. I don't know. Like at the hospital and like at the mortuary, and I don't know. I don't know the reports on that. But I know with Richard's case, the mortuary operations and the funeral operations play a huge role in this, and a huge role of fraud in this. Um, and, you know, the proof of that, and the indications of that is that all of these same individuals involved in the Plenitude crematorium, the baby and organ harvesting sting that happened, these NGOs, or, like Martha Aguilar's family working for Beto O'Rourke, Justin Underwood's wife working for Beto O'Rourke, um, Martha Aguilar being totally connected to um, these funeral homes, flesh peddling um, in the worst way possible, in the worst way, including babies, right? And and then Rosa Maria um, purchase Arellano Caron. I want to say Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. She's another one, right? With the fraud, with total fraud. Um, but the Arellano Carons, they have a house right next to Beto O'Rourke. And they, so and all these people live over in in El Paso. But the common denominator, of course, is this funeral home fraud that clearly went on. And during COVID, it was just like oh, we're just so overwhelmed and all that. And they were just laughing behind the scenes because they were just flesh peddling. You wouldn't even believe it. Some of these bodies were 5 years old, right? That they found just recently. Um, it's just disgusting. Rat infested, no license, no potable water. It just got worse and worse. I mean, worse and worse. And this is all, and I just broke some breaking news that key players in that funeral home fraud scam have reached out to us. So, that's because the Plenitude Crematorium got raided. That's because Del Carmen got raided. People got arrested. Their houses got raided. They collected lots of books, y'all, lots of records. Okay. And there is a lot of pressure right now on them, which I hope I hope they burst from the pressure, because what they were doing to families, what they were doing to people is just, they need to face a death penalty. It's sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious. They have no respect for um, the body of God. We're made in the image of God, right? And so human bodies need to be totally respected. I mean, even criminals. God says you cannot let them hang overnight when they get the death penalty. You can't do that. You have to bring them down and you have to give them a proper burial, right? God's very particular because um, everybody's made in the image of God. A human being, right, is made in the image of God. And so there's no room for sacrilegious behavior, engagement in that. And these flesh peddlers, they have Well, I guess they just want money and power, and they're have no self-respect, no self-respect, no respect for anybody else. And so you can't have a country, you can't have law and order with people that don't have any self-respect and respect for other people. You just can't have it. They are just prone to criminality at the highest level. So, and the common denominator is a Mormon faction. Mormon faction, either they're in it or they're very connected to it. And it's a shame because I think this Mormon faction lost its way. you know, um, uh, you know, that's confirmed because of their actions, right? You know them by their works and what they do. And these people are demonic and satanic and evil, very, very evil. And it seems very connected to TPUSA. The infiltration of it seems very obvious to us. So the same infiltration that got into El Paso's um, agencies and government organizations and the military, um, anything, right? Anything that controlled anything. Um, the same infiltration, like Conal Whetten, right? Like Tavita Nusa, right? Like Solomona Nusa, and I can just go on and on. Um, seems to have absolutely happened in TPUSA. They're just like slithering snakes that find a hole somewhere and get in and take control. Whisper sweet things in your ear, and they use honey pots. And um, I was telling my mom, I said, years ago I watched that Brotherhood of the Bell. It's on YouTube. It's in black and white. Once you watch that movie, it's an old black and white movie about like the bureaucracy deep state, like a Mormon faction deep state, and how they like control your life like a Truman Show. It could be like a Truman Show like that, where you don't even realize, that they've sent these people to you and you have to deal with them day in and day out. And then all of a sudden they've always deceived you. Um, it's such a brilliant movie. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend it because the ending is just amazing. It has amazing ending. Um, and it's just so well made. It's old filmmaking, it's not like today. So, and then the other is a musical. It's called Gigi. Um, it's called Gigi. And I've watched that musical so many times. It's one of my favorites. And it's about redemption. And I've mentioned it before, where this grandmother and aunt are training their granddaughter to be a honey trap. To be a honey trap. Oh, the music is great. To be a honey trap. And Gigi rejects it. She ends up rejecting it. Um, it's, with some help. But, it was like, oh, yes, we don't get married in our family. Oh, yes. Yeah, we don't get married. We're a we just don't get married. But it's training to be a honey trap. And so, these kind of things have helped because I saw evidence of this all through these years of trying to do a psyop, trying to control us, trying to infiltrate us, threaten us when it wasn't going well, and um, you know, but the uh, but the big thing, and of course they try to do that with Richard with the honey trap too, and he didn't fall for it because he's so sparkling clean. We've debunked everything, and the false narratives out there still float around, right? Because they documented them, right? They documented them and they put them in the system, and they have people in government positions that document false information, just like these falsified death certificates with the funeral home mortuary operations fraud that they were conducting. I think the Minneapolis, the Minnesota fraud is just a tip of the iceberg. You go down and you see what they were doing with the NGOs in this funeral home fraud with the mortuary, with the flesh peddling. Your skin will crawl, but the amount of money will be, I think, off the charts. What they've done. So let me read what I'm getting. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on so late. I know I'm burning the midnight oil tonight. Thank you so much for your love and your prayers all the time. You're a guardian angel. You really are. Um, Tama, unfortunately, most Mormons, let me read this whole thing. Most Mormons are Freemasons, Freemasons tied to devil worshippers. The Book of Mormon is so demonic. It would have been so awesome to see the Star of Bethlehem. Our Heavenly Father is leading you and your family to the truth. Thank you so much. I can't see the continuation of it, but thank you so much. And the thing about the Book of Mormon is that it has been revised. I mean, like way more than 1,000 times, I think, or 600 times. Years ago, they had to revise it because one story I read, um, and they still have an issue of it because of these old Book of Mormon books. It had quotes from Shakespeare in it, so they had to revise the whole Book of Mormon. But if someone wants to be Mormon, I'm not going to stop them. Do I think it's illegal to be a Satanist? I think that should be made illegal because um, they cause death and destruction. They don't mind their own. Um, it's just a terrible thing with the children and everything. Um, so I don't know how. I mean, I'm not a government politician, so I don't know how they would legally do that. Maybe it's blasphemy laws. I don't know. I don't know, but um, and I don't want to put all Mormons in one boat at all. Um, but I know in Richard's case, I have to say the truth, and the truth is there's a Mormon faction that are up to no good. I mean, really, really bad stuff. And if they are more, into what this person said, yeah, they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable, and it just cannot. We can't let this go. When you know the case, you cannot let it go. It would be like turning your back on God or something. You have a faith, and you know that you have to be a light to the world, or you have to be an example to the world, or and and there's so much fake. I mean, this whole thing with TPUSA is so heartbreaking. Um, and so I don't like to talk about it a whole lot. I'm just saying, look, we're filing. We are investigating. We are identifying the crimes. We're documenting the crimes, and we are filing the crimes. And when we see a common denominator so big, like this Mormon faction and this funeral home fraud scheme group with mortuary operations that reaches into Fort Bliss to our military, then we have to say it, and it's big, and reaches into the VA, Veterans Administration, because we give everything. You know, most of our money, I mean, a huge hunk of our money goes to our defense, our national defense, right? Our military and the care of all the veterans, and that care was being abused. And you see that by the veterans themselves. The fraud, they weren't getting the care that we were paying for them to get because there was so much fraud. And that needs to be um, absolutely investigated. And um, our intelligence is that it is, right? And I'm putting out some of the arrests over and over again because there's a lot of arrests going on that people don't realize. And there's a lot of um, raids going on that people don't realize. Um, Getting the books, getting the records, and then the likes of Madero, the likes of Cesar Duarte. That's a big one, y'all. Cesar Duarte, like I think 14 homes in El Paso alone. I mean, he's a man in a suit, y'all. He's a man in a suit. Uh, Lots of men in the suit. And then you have Cesar Paneche's mansion getting raided, lots of records, all of that is the amount of crime is so huge. And it is absolutely getting addressed for the first time in a long time. It's happening. The arrest of La Diabla. And so, look, we are little people. And I have some people say, don't ever say that because you're just so amazing, with the Mayella's story being put out there, and um, the criminal law magistrate court judges being illegal. That is huge. The DA being not even installed correctly, two of them, one right after the other, you putting that out there, that's huge. The medical examiner being illegal and not even qualified, that's huge. Manny Chavira, not even being qualified to be the chief of police for the El Paso ISD that has tunnels all under the schools. That's huge. Zorro Ranch being right north of White Sands Missile Range with the airstrip. That's huge. Nadal Baim and him being related to um, uh, Gustavo Sanchez, who was the DPS Texas Ranger assigned to our case, and also uh, um, Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, um, being Richard's chain of command in the G3, and um, being a Palestinian arms dealer, being connected to Arturo Alba and Willie Moya, being confirming that he's tied to the cartel. Um, General John Kelly working for Maru Campos as a foreign agent, as a security advisor. Another huge story. I mean, these are all of our huge stories, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Judge Roger Rodriguez being our whistleblower, and them trying to whitewash his whistleblower report, confirming that there's foul play in our son's case, that there's tampering with Richard's files and leaking of the files, and identifying those that hurt Richard, identifying the prime suspects, and it lands in January of 2022 on Sean Bernabe's desk, on Ted Cruz's desk, on many different agencies' desk, and what they whitewash it. I mean, that's huge, right? So you know, so when I say, okay, we're just little people, well, because our our well, our voice is getting stronger and stronger, isn't it? With the people are starting to share. They're starting to share all of our information. They're starting to go back and look at everything that we have uncovered, all of our stories, and they're starting to share it. People are absolutely tying everything together. And I think that Charlie Kirk's team, of course, I talked to Mitch Snow multiple times, and and of course, he mentioned us on the Stu Peters show. Thank you so much. God bless you so much. I hope everybody watches that. I'm going to feature more clips from that. Um, our voice is getting bigger. Justice is coming, right? But this Mormon faction, and it's just been amazing, right? Because we have to do FOIAs. We have to do real investigative work, and have to identify it all and document it all and file it all. And um, this Mormon faction, they get paid by taxpayers and have access to the servers, to the computers, to the cases, to the file. They don't have to go through FOIAs. They have access. They have access, and it's very dangerous because they have access then to finances. They have access to medical. They have access. They have access. And and they've been doing a lot of damage, hurting a lot of people. So if they're doing that, then they're not loyal to the United States and they're not loyal to Mexico. They're loyal to their Mormon faction. And that's a pretty, when they're living in Mexico and the United States and they're not loyal to either one of them. It's hard to respect a person like that. It's hard to respect them. Matter of fact, I don't respect them at all. I think they're criminals. So, because we live on the land, the land and the people. And there should be a loyalty. There should be esprit de corps. There should be patriotism. If you care about the future, period. So that means, they're just uh, 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 monsters. Monsters. They don't care about the future. And then they don't care about people then. And the lives of the people. And then the bodies of the people. So it gets pretty hellish. It gets pretty hellish. So, breaking news, key players have been contacting us Um, and of course, you saw that Mitch Snow was really contacted us in a really very helpful way. Um, I think, I know there's so much attacks on him, and it's kind of like President Trump. They're trying to blame President Trump for everything, and I'm like, then why are you attacking him? I mean, the media is everyone's attacking him, right? Everyone's attacking him. If he's in on it, why are you attacking him? Because let me tell you, they don't attack others that have done uh, outwardly, outwardly participated in all this evil. They don't even give them a time of day. So we are huge supporters of President Trump. When they start singing his praises, right? When the evil people start singing his praises, and we know who the evil people are, and let me tell you, it's not blue or red or whatever. It's on both sides, right? Um, then we'll start worrying. Then we'll start worrying and say, okay, but right now, everything that they have done to him, and I think that he has to work within the system. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it that he could work within that system. That is so mutinous and so disloyal, right? So yeah, and they have access. They have access, uh, and yet um, they're calling us. They're freaking out. They're freaking out. That tells you that a lot is happening behind the scenes. So that's good news. I hope that gives you some good news. And I just want to thank everybody for coming on and sharing. And I will be back tomorrow. Please share, subscribe, share, get others to do it, and share some more and share some more. It is, just the hammering and the growth and the hammering and the growth, that will get us justice, right? The word has to be out because we are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, under God, and we are just so powerful. And when we come together, it's kind of like that story with all the little fish, right? And when they're, all swimming different directions, then the shark can come get them. But once they get together, they make one big, humongous fish, and then the sharks get all scared away, or get devoured, and all of that. So we are very powerful, and it's from sharing and getting this word out, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you so much. God